So you just got yourself that big rig new 7-string guitar, but it seems like all I ever hear you do on it is flop around on that low string. Well, lucky for you, I've got a really cool alternate tuning that you can use that's going to open your eyes to all kinds of chord and scale shapes that you can use on your new rig. I'm Ben Eller, and this is why you suck at guitar. Okay, not knowing this tuning isn't actually making you literally suck at guitar, but that's just kind of like the name of this video series. Well, hey there kids, and welcome to a brand new installment of This Is Why You Suck at Guitar, here with your good buddy, Uncle Ben. So what I'm going to show you here today isn't a usual sort of technique study like I usually do on the show, but it's more just an idea to maybe get the creative juices flowing with you and get you bonding with that big old 7-string guitar that you just acquired. Or maybe you've had for years and you're just starting to feel kind of bored with. First thing we're going to do is learn this magical mystery tuning, and then we're going to spend some time showing you some chord shapes and scale shapes, as well as giving you some general information on how you can use this to make friends and influence others. So what is this damn tuning and where did it come from? Typically the standard tuning for a 7-string guitar from high to low is E, B, G, D, A, E, and a low B on the bottom. So this means you typically have like a regular 6-string guitar tuned E to E, plus an additional low B string on the bottom for the kids. I remember when I got my first 7-string guitar as a young Ben, and I was initially really excited because everything sounded so brutal and nasty on those low strings. But I do remember being disappointed because all the standard chord shapes that I knew sounded completely disgusting and nasty whenever I tried playing them on the low strings of the guitar. Of course, simple chord shapes like power chords that just use 2 or 3 strings still worked when rooted out on the new, extra low B string on my guitar right there. But it was really difficult to find chord shapes that worked that involved using more than the bottom 3 or 4 strings. Bar chords and stuff like that just don't work with that tuning going on the standard tuning of a 7-string guitar. So for myself, like a lot of other 7-string players, I ended up with a guitar that was 6 normal strings that I could play grown-up music on, and then 1 big fat bottom string that I could chug around on, and that's about it. I was having some real trouble bonding with my new beastly bowel churning 7-string until I stumbled across this one simple tuning that made a big difference. And the cool thing is it only involves changing the tuning of 1 string. Check this out. All you've got to do is to tune your G string, your 3rd string, to G flat. So tune it down 1/2 step. Which corn song was that? So what I've ended up with now is from low to high, B, E, A, D, G flat or F sharp, B, E. Effectively what this does is it transforms your guitar from being like a 6-string with an extra big ass string on the bottom into being more like a B-tuned 6-string. So in other words, a 6-string guitar in B standard tuning on the bottom, and now you have an extra high string. And what that means for you as a player is you can take all of those standard 6-string chord shapes that you know and just move them up a set of strings, and now they'll work. So think about typically how you play like an E major chord like this, right? Well, if you'll take that shape now and move it up to your bottom strings, again, imagine this as a 6-string guitar. These 6 strings right here, it's just a regular old 6-string guitar. You can play all those standard chord shapes on there now and get big, beautiful baritone guitar chord voicings out of it. So the mindset I want you to get in here is that you now have a 6-string guitar on the bottom. Again, these are now your normal 6 strings, and you have an extra high one on the top. One of the good ways to kind of get used to that method of thinking is to take songs that you learned on a 6-string and just dump everything up a set of strings. So you might take something like House of the Rising Sun or something like that and experience how it would sound in beautiful baritone tuning just by moving all those chord voicings up. So in other words, instead of starting with the A minor here, we just move everything up a set of strings and take it from there. Because again, now these are the 6 strings. So that's where I'm going to start on. Go ahead and play all those other guitar-centered bullshit classics too, only just move everything up 1 string. So again, just to make the point really clear here, by taking the G string and tuning it down 1/2 step, so tuning the G string either to G flat or F sharp, whichever you prefer to call it, just by tuning that one string down 1/2 step, we've now reoriented this thing into being like a 6-string guitar that's tuned to B, along with an extra string on top. It's a really simple concept, but man, does it ever make a difference. So what's going to happen whenever we put those familiar chord shapes on the bottom 6 strings in our new tuning here is that they're going to feel like the same old chords that we've been using for years, but they're going to sound out a perfect fourth lower than they usually do. For all these shapes I'm about to play here, I'm going to ignore the high E string. I'm just going to be playing these on the bottom 6 strings of the guitar. I'll show you how to implement the high E string in just a second though. So yeah, what feels like an E major chord will sound out as B major. What feels like E minor will sound out as B minor. What you know as an F chord right here, again, sounds out a fourth lower than that. So this is a C. Your G chord sounds out as D. What you'd think of as an A actually is E now. A minor is E minor. What you'd feel like is a B flat, again, sounds out a fourth lower than that. That's your F chord now. The chord that's going to feel like C, again, sounds out a fourth lower than that, so this is a G. And when you play what feels like a D chord, that's actually an A, which means that your D minor sort of feel is A minor in this tuning. Knowing the real voicings of the chords that you're playing can be really beneficial, especially in a studio recording kind of environment, for whenever you want to make, like, let's say a chorus of a song really pop out and suddenly get really big and full sounding. If you got one standard tuned guitar, maybe playing a regular B minor chord, and you know that you can take your baritone tune 7 and double it up with a big low B minor, either with a strum or maybe a little picking pattern or something like that, it can add this really cool depth to the sound. Even if you mix it really low in the mix, it really comes through and makes stuff all sound subliminally fatter. But of course, what's the fun of playing a 7-string guitar if I'm only using 6 of the strings, right? So let's talk about how you might be able to implement your extra high E string here into the process. Something to understand about the tuning of the guitar, and this goes for regular standard tuning as well as our new 7-string tuning that we're messing with today, is that there are several sets of twins in this tuning, okay? There's 2 E's, there's a high E and a low E. And now on a 7-string guitar, we have 2 B's as well. We got a high B and a low B. And a concept I put out there with my students all the time is that if big brother can do it, little brother can do it too. And this goes for basically any chord shape, any scale shape, whatever it is that you're doing. Because again, whenever those 2 strings, both of our E's here, are played on the same fret, they're octaves. They're both G's, they're both A's, they're both B's, whatever. So whenever you take a chord shape, you can just look at whatever the low E string is doing and apply that to the high E. So in other words, let's take a look at like our B major chord shape here, right? Again, that's my standard E major feel, but now it sounds like B major. If I look at the low E string here, I'll notice it's on fret number 2. So again, if big brother can do it, little brother can do it too. So if I want to incorporate that into a big ass 7-string chord voicing, I just have to match on the high E whatever the low E is doing. Majestic. If you looked at your G, which is of course feeling like a C chord now, you'll notice the low E string is on 3. Well, I'll put the high E string on 3 as well. There you go. So basically whatever your chord voicing is, just match on the high E string whatever the low E string is doing. That's a good start at least. And of course there's options beyond that too, where you could use that extra high E string to extend the harmony of a chord, make it into something else harmonically. But just the matching thing, that's a good start. Another cool thing is too, is once you're in this new standard 7-string tuning, if you take your low B string and drop it down to A, well now the bottom 6 strings of your guitar are exactly like a 6-string guitar in drop D tuning. So all of your big, cool big D shapes with that extra low string ringing out, now sound huge. This tuning is also really fun to use if you like to play songs by bands that tune to B standard. That way you don't have to go and set up one of your 6-string guitars with really heavy gauge strings on it, specifically so you can play your favorite at the gate songs. Instead, you can just use your 7-string guitar, tune that G string down a half step, and boom, you've got standard B tuning on the bottom 6 and an extra high string. So now that you got some ideas about how you can use chords in this new tuning, let's talk for a second about scales and how they're going to work. So one of the first things that you're going to notice is in this tuning, if you try to take any standard scale shape that you learned, like let's say the C major scale, and play it just as you learned it on a 6th string, it now sounds like drunk Alan Holdsworth shitting the bed. Like I mentioned before, these bottom 6 are now the standard string. So basically you can take any scale shape that you know and play it across those low strings. So let's say like a minor pentatonic, for example. Just imagine you're playing that on a 6th string guitar like this. I'll play E minor pentatonic, which will feel like A minor pentatonic. I'll call out fret numbers here. 5-8, 5-7, 5-7, 5-7, 5-8, 5-8. Just like it would appear on a 6th string guitar. Or maybe a major scale, like this G major scale up here. I'll play from the lowest string here, 8-10, 7-8-10, 7-9-10, 7-9-10, 8-10, 7-8. Just like it would appear on a 6. I'm just moved down a string is all. If you want the super Yngwie scale, the harmonic minor, what we play is like this. I'll call out numbers here. 5-7-8, 5-7-8, 6-7-9, 5-7-9, 6-9-10, and then on the last string here we'll play 7-8 and 10. Those are 3 of the most used scale patterns on the guitar, but you'll notice that we ignored the high E string, kind of like we did with the chords initially. But just like I said about that, why have 7 strings if we're only going to use 6 of them? Let's talk a little bit about how we can bring our high E string into some of these scale shapes. Now, if you're looking at music the real, super legit, proper way, where you really know all the notes of the scales and you know all the notes on the neck and stuff like that, as you should, that's an important way to play and live your life. I know the notes of that scale, so I just choose to continue playing the notes of the scale across the string. That's the simple yet complicated answer. But because this is YouTube, we all like cool tricks with fast results. So do what you did with your chord ideas. Just like we talked about, if Big Brother can do it, Little Brother can do it too. So take, for example, like your minor pentatonic scale shape we used a second ago. Remember that went 5-8, 5-7, 5-7, 5-7, 5-8, 5-8, just like a standard pentatonic shape. But now when we get to this string, what do? Remember what you did on the low E string, right? You played 5 and 7. Well again, if Big Brother's on it, Little Brother's on it too. So what you can do is extend the scale shape out with whatever it was that you did on the low E string. Just spit it out on the high E too. So you end up with this. 5-8, 5-7, 5-7, 5-7, 5-8, 5-8, 5-7. And again, that Big Brother, Little Brother thing I'm talking about, that's not just in this tuning. Do that on your regular 6th string guitar or 7th string guitar in standard tuning as well, and you'll find it always works. If you can do it on the low E, you can do it on the high E. If you can do it on the low B, you can do it on the high B as well. So there you go, guys, a cool new 7-string tuning concept to help that big old beefy low B string get real good to you. I won't claim that I like invented this tuning or anything like that. I'm sure somebody else out there has done it before, but I've never really seen any bands or anybody else using it before. Something I stumbled across a long time ago, and it helped me really get used to playing a 7-string guitar, and I know I've showed this to several other people too, and they have never seen it, and they said it really helped them get into playing a 7, so maybe it will for you too. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at BenEllerGuitars. I've got a Facebook fan page that you can go like over on Facebook. If you go to facebook.com/Uncle Ben Eller, you can go there and like my page and stay up to date with all my musical exploits and pursuits. And also, if you'd like to think about taking some one-on-one Skype lessons with me, you can drop me an email, BenEllerGuitars@gmail.com. Also, be sure to show me any songs or anything like that that you come up with in this baritone +1 tuning. Thanks again so much for watching. Be sure to leave me some comments letting me know what it is that you suck at, and I'll try to cover those in an upcoming video. Expect a whole lot more You Suck at Guitar videos coming very soon. Until then, I'll see you guys. Cheers.